What's up,
Live.
guy?
What's happening?
What's
All
up?
right, you
What's up?
guys, this is episode 59. We got Chris Lillis, an absolute legend in the community. I'm really excited. This is a great, I want to say, resource to, tap into what you've got and to really open up this winter. I mean, from bluegill to bluefin, I feel like is something completely different when talking to you. So I'm really excited for it.
I appreciate that, man. That's really humbling. I turned red in the face. It's still it's borderline embarrassing almost sometimes. I ran recently into this kid. I was at Macy's buying a T-shirt for my first. I was going out that night, and some kid comes up to me and he goes, he's probably watching right now, and he goes, "Man, I recognize your voice," and he caught me off guard, and I turned red in the face because he saw Chris, right?
Hmm.
So, and anyway, we talk and the cashier says, "Are you famous or something?" And I go, No, this is going to sound really stupid. I'm a famous fisherman, I guess, lame, right? So, anyway, he comes back a couple minutes later and he asks for a picture. Before that, I'm explaining to the cashier that I wasn't in character, right? But when he came back, I'm like, "Yo, let's take a photo," all the whoop de whoop. And she was like, I get it. I was in the music industry for a long time, and there is a disconnect. You know what I mean? It's this duality of who you are and who you portray yourself as.
Yeah.
So it's and you got it's a fine line to walk, man. I used to be in love with myself, man. Now I just love myself.
That is
You know?
that is a that is a good way to put it, man.
Yeah, man. I'm my
I've
biggest. I'm
never
my own
thought
biggest
about it
fan.
like that.
I'm
Right?
my own biggest fan, dog. I'm gonna tell you right now. That's and that's a character flaw, But
I
awareness
don't think
is.
it's a character flaw
If,
whatsoever.
if, if you don't love yourself, who will?
No, I was in love with myself.
Yeah,
There's a
there's a
stark
big
Yeah,
difference.
difference.
Yeah.
that is a difference. I'm talking about loving yourself.
No,
You know
Yeah, well,
yeah.
what's
that's what the wife taught me. She taught me how to love myself, not be in love with myself.
Yeah, which is good. It
Oh, it's
One
great.
of the things that I tell myself and tell other people is you're stuck with yourself 24/7.
Well, let
To
me
where
tell
if
you something.
you're not
There's
your
no,
own friend,
everybody else is taken. You got to be you. Everybody else is taken.
yeah. But it's
You
like if
know.
you're not your own friend, then you got no one backing you up in the toughest times. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
really gotta really be kind to yourself.
You do, and that's another thing she taught me is to give myself a little bit of credit. I grew up in a family business, and things were. My parents are immigrants, and I was made in Greece. I'm barely first gen American, and so it
I
was just different. It's different. I'm sure Charlie knows.
your
I mean,
story
I
Why?
is
mean,
actually a lot of
Why is
I ain't
fun.
that?
judging a book by its
Why
cover,
is
but
that?
you know what I'm saying. I know what I know. You know what I mean?
Um, you're getting a lot of love in the comments, by the way. So
Yeah.
you know,
Now,
So,
I know you've talked about your story and your upbringing on Cast and Crank, so anyone that's listening, go back. I actually love to hear your upbringing and how your mom was really hard working as a single parent, and you're just like not left, I shouldn't say that, but dropped off to go fish, and you would just fish for hours, and then that's something that you pursued and you loved.
Yeah, I did that for a while, and then I was in the music industry at a very young age, and I went and did that. I put the fishing down and I went into that, and we ran with it, man. We were on tour with the Bone Thugs. We were on tour with the Alcoholics. We had a deal with Capitol Records. We had a deal with Sony. And this is pre-social media. This is pre-digital recording, mind you. This is reel to reel recording. I'll tell you what. The first song we ever did, I met Daz and Big C Style from Dog Pound on the Southern Cal. They used to come fishing with like Exhibit and Superfly and those guys. And the first song we ever did, they invited us to a studio out in Echo Park. And yeah, that was a trip. But fishing has opened so many doors, even doors that you wouldn't think were there. So
mm,
I did put down the fishing for lack of a better term for a while. But yeah, I did grow up on a half day boat, man, on the Southern Cal. And guys like Eric Landensfiend and Benny Florentino before him, they grew up, they fished on the Southern Cal. So I learned from, I'm gonna tell you something, man. That Landensfiend, that guy's a stick, bro. I mean, for my
oh
money,
yeah,
he might be the best fisherman out here. Him and the Jerry Mayhews of the world, and you know what I mean. Like, the Dwayne Mellors of the world, man. People don't know these guys talk about bluefin to bluegill. That's the real deal over there. I mean, I'm just scratching the surface. You know, I only know what I've been told. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, those guys are fishy dudes, man.
Man, I remember I met Dwayne on Bloody Decks, right? I didn't even meet him. We had never met. First time I ever met him, I drove to San Diego, and we all got together in a couple trucks. And we drove down to San Quintin and fished for a week, man. And we've been best friends ever since, man. Yeah. I didn't even know the guy. You know what I'm saying? It was, you know, it's cool to see. You know, I wish I could have ran more with the fishing world as a means of living. I had the restaurant, you know, and I had to have my mom's back, you know, and that held me back in the music world. It held me back in the fishing world, where I could have taken it, right, but I make it sound like it was a hindrance. It was more of that's just what you do. You know what I mean?
I miss the restaurant.
I fucking miss the restaurant. Pardon my French. I miss it too, man. I ordered some Italian food the other day. This place called Buono's that was like pizza place, and it almost brought a tear to my eye, man. It's, you know, as much as I hated it, you know, you better watch what you wish for, man, because you just might get it.
Hey, before we get too deep into it, let's talk about what events we got coming up.
So LA Fishing Fest is coming up October 12th.
Where's that at?
Portugal, is that where it is?
Yeah, it's in San Pedro.
Like 22nd Street?
Yeah,
I think it's more, I thought it was more like Portugal.
Yeah,
man, we used to go to Portugal in the 80s and get those shrimp plates.
Dude, those are good.
Check them out.
It's going to be there.
About that.
So, yeah, we got LA Fishing Fest coming up. We got Tackle Meet coming up. I believe it's the weekend after. This week, if you have any...
to clarify.
This Saturday, if you have any interest in fly fishing, the double haul ball is going to be in Long Beach. I believe it's called the Long Beach Casting Club. I'll post some stuff about that in my stories.
Yeah, they'll be on 7th Street.
Yeah,
by the dog park. Yep.
So that'll be Saturday. I'll have a booth there. Me and Frank's Fly Shack are sharing a booth. So
yeah, you know what?
If you guys are at all interested, come on out.
I did the fly fishing thing for a while, man. The trout with the midge and all that, and the Laguna Niguel Lake, and they were stocking these hook jaw rainbows, and man, there's not enough time in
Dude,
this episode.
What did you do today, Luke?
What did I do today?
He told me. He told me.
I caught a big old leopard shark on the fly. My first time fly fishing.
Like on an 8-weight?
No, on like a 6-weight.
See, I know what I'm talking about, Doc. Come on, man.
Yeah, 8-weight's what I use for calico. No, so my buddy Frank, he guides in the surf, and I was gonna make like a little surf spinning video for our YouTube channel. And I called him up and I was like, hey, I'm about to go make this surf fish video. Why don't we just meet up on a day you got off and kind of promote your guide service?
Is that the dude that was guiding on like Craigslist or something like that?
No, I don't think so. He guides out of the Fisherman's Spot over in it's not too far from Bob Sands, that part of the valley.
Okay. Yeah,
so
he was catching a lot of heat for doing some like kind of shady like fishing guiding. He works at the Fisherman's Spot, and he's like one of their guides. Are you out in the valley too?
No, I'm over in South Bay.
Okay.
I'm like right Manhattan Beach, Hawthorne
Inglewood area.
Right. Like it's like the tri-corner, right where Hawthorne, Inglewood, and Manhattan Beach all meet.
Hey man,
he's like right in the middle.
You ever been to the Quick and Split?
No.
What?
Oh, it's an old burger joint, man. That was a Yo-Yo and Ice Cube had a song. They said, "Now I'm robbing Quick and Split." It was an old burger joint now in Inglewood. No. This is before Inglewood was gentrified.
I've seen that. I've seen Inglewood go.
Very studio out there. Yeah, man. We did. We
just got a Starbucks. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, man.
You're gentrified when you got a Starbucks, huh?
Dude,
dog, you're gentrified when they take away a place like Quick and Split.
Well, the 7-Eleven drops your property value $20,000, and so we just got a Starbucks, so now it's leveled out.
It's a trip. I live in in suburbia right now. Like you couldn't be more suburban Long Beach, right? Man, there ain't a 7-Eleven in 3 miles where I live. Where I used to live in Long Beach, like a year ago, 2 years ago.
Every corner.
There was 4 every corner, every half a corner.
I mean, I'm from South Central, so I have one in every corner.
Dog, I used to date a chick that lived in Lamert. I was right there at the 7-Eleven where they split, where King splits at Lamert.
Dude,
you know what
I only hear stories of Lamert Park. Stories.
Dog, I was the only white boy out there.
But Daniel, no, C's, do you have anything coming up this weekend? What do you?
So Friday night I play in a poker league. I got poker Friday night, and then I'm throwing the wife a birthday party Saturday night here at the house.
And happy birthday!
You guys are more than welcome to join. I'll send you guys an invite. Bring the fam, bring the wives. You know what I mean? It's cool. We have adult parties, it's grown-ups stuff.
Well, happy birthday to your wife, by the way.
Borrow an hour of your time, by the way.
Yeah, she's not even home from work yet, so it's perfect.
All right, so I know. So you said you just had surgery, or the doctor said you can't fish for a couple of weeks.
I just can't go on the boat.
Say it again.
I just can't go on the boat.
So when was the last time you fished?
I fished the other night.
Okay. What were you fishing for?
Largemouth.
Ooh,
nice.
How did that go?
It went really well. I'm really into wake baiting right now, like mini wake baiting on like 10 pound. On like really, really light line and really like small reel, like hunter size reels and small little wake baits, the shell crackers and stuff like that, and just burning the bank, banging the bank. It's super fun. It's really cathartic, man. Like getting out there, and you're not supposed to be out there at night. I don't know if you guys know, but California waters are illegal to fish at night. Only privately on lakes. Yes, while parks are open. It's not illegal to be in a city park or lake or area. You cannot fish at night.
The park over by us that we hit, you gotta keep your head on a swivel after dark.
Oh, you talking about where Reggie was at?
That's for more reasons than one, though.
Well, that's just a sketchy place, right?
That's what I'm saying.
You don't want to be at a
I
somebody would.
Anyway. I wish somebody would.
What was funny is we had this homeless guy that was always there causing trouble, right? And he was always going on about how he was so mad at the people at the liquor store because they wouldn't sell him lighters. He's going on about it. Some guy comes up to me and tells me, like, that homeless guy keeps burning down the bathrooms. I'm like, yeah, I believe it. He's mad they won't sell him lighters anymore.
It's so funny that you say that. There was a homeless dude where I was the other night, 2 nights ago, and he was on the other side of the pond, and he was he was mentally ill, and he was yapping and yapping and yapping. So I stopped fishing. I walked all the way around the lake and told him in so many words, shut the up. I'm trying to relax right now, homie. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, man. Yeah. Hey, man.
It's my therapy time. You're messing up my therapy time.
I usually kind of hang out with him a little.
I wish somebody would, man. Please do. Give me your
I figure if I'm talking to him, I don't have to worry about him sneaking up on me.
Yeah, no, but no, it was fun, man. It was I've been doing that lately. Right now, this time of year, usually I like to go to the local lakes and fish bluegill baits, because at night those fish stage up and they push that small bluegill up on the bank, and they're you could see them waking and pushing that fish up on the bank, that bait, and man, they just hammer wake baits, dude. It's so fun. And I'm talking super pressured spots, you know what I mean? So like you get 2, 3, 4 bites, you're stoked, man.
Yeah, for sure. Just one.
I was gonna say I've only the park we go to, I've never got more than 2 bites in a night, and I've never landed both fish.
Oh, Doug, you invite me over. I'll show you.
I'll show you a thing or two.
Not a thing or two. I'm just to get down. It's real. You know what I mean? It's literally a matter of.
I got my little wake bait right here, ready to go.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? That's exactly what I do.
I don't know how to catch them any other way than a wake bait. I haven't put a lot of time on largemouth.
Yeah, if they're eating the wake bait, they're eating the chatterbait too. So we'll just leave it at that.
That's Charlie's game right there.
Hey, baby, I'll fish the light little chatterbait right on the bank.
That's Daniel. Daniel's a chatterbaiter.
Bro, I've been chatterbaiting in the ocean.
Daniel doesn't have an 8-pound calico on a chatterbait.
I don't have an 8-pound calico in general.
Dude, that was sick.
I got a nice sandbass on a chatterbait a couple months ago, big one.
That's actually what Charlie got. It wasn't a calico, it was a sandbass.
It was a sandbass. It was almost a 9-pound sandbass on a chatterbait.
We're on. It wasn't the
Say
Evergreen?
It again?
On the Evergreen Z-Man?
No.
That was the one, man. That's the
It
one.
is a Seaman, but it's not. No, it's a
Probably
swing.
the big hammer.
It's the
Not
one.
big
Yeah, it's the
hammer,
one with
but-
the EWG hook on the back.
It's a swing.
Yeah. The Evergreen, Evergreen X Z-Man or whatever, they're $17, $18. But man, I'll tell you what, every bite I've ever gotten on that lure in the salt, I hooked up. So I was with Mike Stanbridge a few months ago fishing the wall, and I for sure hooked broomtail, because I hooked it and it went parallel to the wall. It couldn't get in the holes. And zip, 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 zip. And you know, if you know chatterbaits, if you fish kind of heavy line, they don't really do their thing. So 25-pound max, you know. And I had them up and down, dude, and it just popped, you know. And it wasn't a calico, because you know I've caught giants, and it wasn't a sea bass, because they just don't do that. You know, it was 100% one of them broomtails. Dudes have been catching them things, man.
What were you on, Charlie? Were you on 40-pound on that chatterbait?
Let's talk about that. That's really cool that you brought that up. Let's talk about that. So I was on 40-pound, and you're right. It doesn't. You have to wind it fast so it could start.
That's part of why I stopped fishing them.
It's because, see where that line tie is with I mean, this is my idea of how it goes. That's a little snap on there, man. And that knot on a 40-pound it's a beast of a knot in itself, you know, no matter what knot you tie, you know. And I think it just it inhibits the action of the lure, you know. I'm from a different school of fishing, you know. I'll tell you exactly where I'm fishing, exactly what I'm throwing, exactly what I'm doing. You still got to go catch them.
Yep.
You know, I'll give you a good example. Mark Higashi, one time, I'm at Performance after a tournament, you know, the Monday after a weekend tournament. And he goes, "So how'd you do?" And I go, we got 6th, there's 5th, I don't know, you know. And he goes, "All right, but how'd you do?" And I said, you know, we had 18 pounds or whatever, you know. He goes, "But how'd you do?" I go, "What do you mean, dude?" He goes, "Well, how many did you lose?" And I was like, "Oh, we dumped a couple good ones." And he goes, "Well, you lost." You know, it's about landing the fish. You can't control the size of your bite, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah,
you can control landing your fish. When I would pre-fish for tournaments, I would very rarely fish the waters of the event. I'd prefer to go to a place like San Clemente Island to actually practice fishing and catching.
Okay.
I like
dial
that.
in your well, I mean, you gotta, you know what I'm saying, hook and land a fish. It does you no good going to where you're gonna fish if you don't know how to fish your gear, you know what I mean? Like so go practice. Like when I golf, I don't go to the driving range. I go play golf, because the driving range is static. It's a static environment. You know what I'm saying? There's no water hazards, there's no sand traps, there's no rough, there's no trees. You know, you're just hitting the ball off a mat straight down the line. You know what I mean? So you don't get a real feel of what you're doing and where you're doing it.
Which
but that's very interesting.
Yeah, I like that, because getting the bite is just half the battle, and then the other half is, you know, whether or not you land it, whether or not you hook, land it, and then weigh it. There's a lot of different. I mean, there's so many different times where I've had a fish to the boat, and then, or even like, you know, you feel like you're hooked, and you're, you know, a couple cranks down, you get it, runs a little, and then just pink. And it just spits.
That's why we moved to. That's part of why we moved to the gigantic net too. We were tired of losing fish at the boat.
Yeah, well, you know, that's another thing. You know, you definitely, you know, the net's a big deal. But I mean, real quick to you know, I digress. But when fishing tournaments, it was always somebody's on a fish. Like, let's say I hook one, or let's say Brian hooked one. I yell right quick, "Netter bait, netter bait, netter bait," because if it's not a good one, I'm going to throw my lure right behind his fish, because if it's a small one, there's going to be a big one right behind it. You know, I can't tell you how many tournaments, you know, netter bait, netter bait. He goes, you know, he's fighting. He goes, bait, bait, bait. And I throw it on there, and boom, 6-pounder.
Nice.
You know, where I'm going to sit there with a net and scoop it too. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I'll tell people when they come out on the charters, because, hey, they'll start going, who wants the front? I said, hey, just so everyone knows, majority of the big fish come off the back of the boat. The second fish, a lot of times the fish looks at that second lure and hits that one.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there was many years we fished a 13 whaler, you know, and it was only front or back. You know, there wasn't 2 guys on the bow. And listen, it's called getting backboated. That's a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
But what I learned how to do is, I'm ambidextrous. Bass fishermen get left-handed reels because they make a cast over their right shoulder, and they don't want to switch, because your bit sometimes when it hits the water, right? So what I taught myself to do is cast over my left shoulder, so my hand's on the reel, immediately when that bait hits the water, as opposed to casting over my right and switching back or getting a left-handed reel. You know what I mean? I taught myself. So when we're on the bow together, we're casting like this. We're never crossing streams. And that, you know, I remember the first time I fished with Matt Kobzeff, he was like, man, this is cool. You're like my little shadow. I like this. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You guys know that trick where you're like, all right, this is L, this is left hand, and L, left hand, right hand. You guys know that? When you were describing your, like, yeah, you know, I'll take the reel and I'll cast over, I was like trying to figure out like, what you were talking about, and I was just laughing.
Well, that's why a lot of bass
feels
fishermen fish
funky.
left-handed reels. It's not because they're left-handed. It's because they cast over their right shoulder.
And more people are moving to left-handed reels. I'm actually having to start buying left-handed reels for the charter because I'm getting so many lefties.
No. It's not because you're a lefty. It's because you cast
No.
over your
I'm
right
saying,
shoulder.
but so many people are using the left-handed reels that I'm having to get them for my outfit now.
Yeah, and listen, they're using left-handed reels because they see the guys on TV using left-handed reels. Let's face it, they're not skilled enough to understand when the bait hits the water.
Dumb.
They look cool doing it.
I'm left-handed. And I use a right-handed reel for that reason because I cast out and just go.
I'm right-handed, but I do everything left-handed. I golf left-handed. I play basketball left-handed, baseball. I mean, I bat both sides, but I can hit a golf club both sides. But I am power left, precision right. So if I'm riding, you know, anything skilled, slow, it's right-handed. When it's power, it's left. But I'm truly
that's a dangerous combination for boxing.
Yeah.
He's like, that's another.
So, hey, I got broken knuckles. Look at they don't work anymore.
So a little off topic. Today when I caught that leopard shark, he goes, "Oh, do you want me to change the reel over left-handed for you?" I said, "No, we're just catching Corbina. I'll be fine on a right-handed rod." First time I've ever had to fight a rod in my actual right hand.
Yeah.
I felt like someone trying to throw a baseball with their offhand.
Yeah. I could see where that, you know, I've been fishing for so long, it don't even matter. You know what I mean? Like, if I pick up a spinning rod and the handle's on the other side.
I thought it wasn't going to matter either, but after the first 10 minutes, it started mattering.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you make enough casts, sure. You know,
well, no, the casts are fine, but I was able to do all the casts with the left hand, but once you actually start fighting it, I had to move it right because that's where the real picks up.
Yeah.
How long was your fight in total, Luke?
I think the video of the fight end to end was, I want to say 13 or 14 minutes.
Damn.
Solid. It's a solid.
Man, I've caught 200-pound plus bluefin that were 13 minutes sometimes.
How long does it take you? What's your
man, it's weird. I always said like the teenage tuna, the 110s to the 180s, they're full of piss and vinegar, man. Those things take forever. And so those big ones are sometimes they're just kamikazes, you know. The giant one we caught, the big one, that we hooked that fish at like 7 p.m. We didn't get back to Oceanside till 1 a.m.
Now, someone told me with the big ones, the problem is they can't cool down fast enough. That's why they're easier to get at the end.
Well, bluefin's it's a strange fish in that it's a fatty tuna, so it's not very strong. It's more like a bonita. They fight like a bonita. It's weird, man. Like I having caught giant bluefin and then going down to Puerto Vallarta and catching those giant yellowfin. Those bluefin are weak compared to those yellowfin, dude. I mean, weak. Night and day, dude. Those yellowfin, those big ones down there are, man. It's like your bit. Dude. And we were stitching squid. I don't know, like you're fishing sea bass. You know, it's literally sliding egg sinker, like you're fishing sea bass, fly lining a squid. But the squid are, I don't know, 2-3 feet long, you know. And you're bit on a 50 wide, and the line, you're like, I'm not gonna put this thing in gear, dude. Like it's gonna be a problem. And it was a problem, man. Those things are
the pictures you sent us of those. The sickles are incredible.
They're called Allison fins. Those are called Allison fins. The certain tuna in certain parts of the world have bigger ones than other ones because it's about the diet. It's a protein-rich diet. They have a longer Allison fin. You notice the Hawaiian fish don't have them as long as the Mexican fish. You know, it's because what their diet consists of. It's something about that. It's iron or I don't know. You don't quote me on that, but it's definitely diet related.
So people that are watching it might not know what you guys are talking about. What are you guys talking about? Because I'm clueless as well.
Yeah, well, they call it like Artemis said, it's sickles, those long fins that the yellowfin
okay.
have, or the big ones. Those are called Allison fins.
The side
kind of on the back portion of them.
No, the ones that are on the back on their when the tail tapers out, and they're coming like kind of off their.
Gotcha.
Towards the back, for lack of a better term.
Nice.
That doesn't make a fish swim any stronger or anything like that. It just looks cool. I remember when we were down there once, man. We were fishing Las Tres Marias. There's this islands down there. It's where there's a prison there where they had Chapo and all that. They take the worst prisoners in Mexico there. And there was a giant south swell, and it was full of red crab. And you got to stitch these baits, man. You're soaking a bait hundreds of yards. And the swell was so big, I was watching those giant tuna with their Allison fins swimming through the swell, mouth agape, just sucking down red crab, dude. So cool. So it's like nothing I'd ever seen before, man.
Dude, I can't even imagine that.
Right? I mean, it's like unimaginable.
Nature is crazy.
Oh, it's amazing. I am in awe of nature. I almost did this thing inside. I got 2 giant fish tanks in my house. I'm just in awe of nature at all times,
Saltwater or freshwater?
I've had both. Right now I have aquascapes. I grow plants in them too, and they're both freshwater right now. But nice. You learn a lot about fish behavior by having a fish tank. How they act and what they do and why they do it and when they do it, and it's how they act towards each other and how the bigger fish are kind of like scavengery. They'll wait for the scraps. And like a following fish, like we spoke about earlier. They're not opportunistic. Yeah. Well, they are opportunistic in that they'll take the scraps, but they're not going to be the first ones for the most part to go eat. It's just the little small, the tetras and the guys.
I had a trip like that where we had just thick with skipjack, and we were killing the bait to throw it in because the skipjack wouldn't hit it and it would sink down and the yellowfin would grab it.
Man, one time we went with Dwayne down to San Quintin and we were catching yellowfin. We had 3-day limits within the first hour, but then they kept getting bigger. So we cut up all the yellowfin and chunked it, and we fed to the yellowfin, and they went from 20 pounds to 30 pounds to 60 pounds to 70 pounds, and they were eating themselves, man. It was cool. It was cool.
Now, I want to ask a quick follow-up question, because you were talking about how the bigger ones will, kind of follow behind as a scavenger a little bit. But then we also linked it, that calicos, whether or not you're in a net or bait. When you're calling bait, how far are you casting the second bait to follow up?
I am casting right wherever that line is coming out of the water. I'm casting right at it. I mean, I'm trying to make that, and there's also times where we would be on a bite and we'd have a rod rigged up on the boat with no reel, straight 100-pound braid to a 2-ounce lead head and a small swim bait, like jack pulling them. You know what I mean? Because you don't need, you'd wind them up, and those big fish sometimes, man, they get keyed in so hard on following that they're oblivious to the boat. It's so wild, man. You know what I mean? I've caught fish. Brian and I we scooped a 5-pounder at that place I was telling you about, that jetty. Mm-hmm. And I scooped a free swimmer with it. We had 10 pounds, 2 fish, and one of them wasn't even hooked. That's how dumb they get. You know what I mean? Who's the dummy? The fish or the fisherman?
Yeah. They're keyed in.
I was spotty fishing with somebody, and I saw another spotty follow. Actually, twice, a couple of times. I've seen spotties follow each other trying to rip the bait out of.
Oh man! Back in the day in Newport, I'm talking like in the '90s, early '90s in Newport, when flow tubes were donuts. Those long jetties towards the mouth of the harbor, we used to launch right there. And dude, it was like only 3-inch Christmas tree big hammers back then, and like number 9 shad heads. And there'd be a school of followers, bro. This is before fishing was like cool. You know what I mean? And I wrote in an article before, I never thought I'd associate the words fishing and cool, but yeah, I've seen clouds of spotties like you would at Clemente with calico,
Dude,
you see them get hooked up on flat falls, right? Like double assist hook flat falls. you'll get 2 spotties or 2 calicos.
Yeah.
No, I never fished one of those.
Oh,
The flat falls, or well, for
I've never.
spotties,
You know,
I
it's so
love
funny.
it.
I never caught a tuna on them.
micro slow
I never.
bait.
he's like, I don't know what that is.
I know. No, I know what it is. It just ain't my thing. You know.
No,
what I mean?
but
Like,
in fishing wise, like fishing, I mean, I know you know what it is, but I'm saying like fishing wise, like never fished it, you know?
yeah, no, I've never caught a single fish. I just barely caught my first axe blade fish this year. You know, it's just not.
I'm still working on mine.
Yeah, it's. I like it.
You can't catch it. You can't catch it if you don't throw it, Daniel.
Right?
Yeah.
I threw and then I lost it, and then I got another.
Yeah, I'll
one.
tell you something. It's like me with rattle traps with freshwater with larger brown bass. I just don't like fishing like that. You know, it's just not conducive to the way I fish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if it ain't fun, especially nowadays. 10 years ago, I'm the conformist. I'm doing what everybody else, I'm right along with everybody else, whatever the coolest guy's doing, I'm going to do, nowadays, man, I could care less, dude. I think I offended somebody the other day online because he tagged me in something and he goes, "How big?" And I replied that, "Who cares?" And I meant it. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it, in a way that to offend. But I mean, it's a good one. Who cares? I don't know. It's good. I don't know.
If you see it and you're questioning it, it's big enough, right?
And if it ain't, it ain't. Whatever.
Well, even if it's little, I remember the first yellowtail I ever caught on my boat. Someone made a comment like, "Oh, you're catching babies," and it's like, dude, you know how much work I put into like finally get on a yellowtail on my own boat, and you got to like say something negative.
Yeah, everybody's got something to say, dog.
Sees Fred. Yeah. Fred said hi.
Fred Clinshaw?
Yep.
That's my man, the Hammer of Fury.
Yep.
That's my man right there, man. Like we go
Fred's
back like
good company right there.
He is really good.
Too, man. That's salt of the earth type dudes right
fun
there,
to fish with.
Yeah,
Luke's fished with them before. I've never fished with him, but he's one of the original dudes with Salty Crew. I remember I was fishing for AFCO back then, and Dwayne said, "Man, I met this guy Jared, and he's got this thing going on with Salty Crew," and we took him down to San Quintin, and man, we had a blast. And that was just a T-shirt and a hat and an idea back then, dude. And I'm not one to be a switch sider, you know what I mean? And I grew up that way too, in for lack of a better term, in the streets, you don't want to be no switch sider, you know what I mean? But it was cool. Like I love the Stoke and I was on board and I had called Greg Stokesbury on the way back, and I said, I hate to, I almost wanted to get his blessing, you know what I mean? Like, cause that's not me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I believe in the products that I would represent, I'm not that dude, you know what I'm saying? And, cause I make my own money. You can keep that stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to sacrifice my integrity for blind loyalty. You know what I mean? Yeah. So sometimes that perplexes me, but to each his own.
But let's talk about that. How did you start with salt? How did you meet? How did you guys?
Literally like that, dog. Dwayne. See, Jared's dad owns Fast Lane Kayaks at the Log Trap right there. And the Fast Lane, Jared Lane.
Yeah.
And they had, Dwayne had met them and we were making Dwayne and a bunch of friends, Levi, rest in peace, and Dwayne's brother, rest in peace, and a couple other dudes. We would do a yearly pilgrimage down to San Quintin, and Fisher Kelly, and one year he brought Jared along. Like I said, he had literally a T-shirt and a hat and an idea, man, and a vision, and that's exactly how we met, man. Like really rootsy stuff, man. Really, really, like I said, it's real fam type deal. You know what I mean? It's cool, man. It's cool to have friends that you can call family. And all business aside, you know what I mean? Like I don't have business relationships with my friends. I never hired a friend at the restaurant, for example. It's just not. It's not in. You don't mix friends and business. It's a surefire way for a bad ending. I've read that book. You know what I mean? It's got a bad ending. You know.
You know, it's funny that you say that because this weekend I met up with one of my friends and he was saying that he works for a bank, and he's like, I would never refer a friend to my company, especially in my department, because I'm gonna want if he's gonna want what I want, and at the end of the day, is me, right? Like, so
You
he's like,
know,
man,
and business is never personal. I'll quote EPMD. You know what I mean? Business is never personal. You know, it's you know, you mix. You don't dip the pen in the company ink. You know what I'm saying?
but
Now,
so go ahead, Daniel.
Go ahead, Charly.
No, you go.
Well, I want to throw it back real quick because I see a lot of people fishing what's currently popular right now, and you know, nothing towards it. It works. But what I wanted to ask you is, during your time of fishing, what was hot, what was new, what was popular, did that make you a better fisherman at all?
You know, I don't know. Like, so a lot of people don't know this, but like that whole Lucky Craft saltwater line, like I spearheaded that whole thing. Like I met with Minoru and I was at Lucky Craft. That was all me, man. All them colors, that was all me. The 190s, all those sizes. We did all that. That CIF series, that was all me. You know, those colors. If you look at some of those colors, they're mimics of colors that Mike pours at Pearl. You know, it was a purple, orange tail, purple back, senorita type stuff, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, it was me and Jerry Mayhew was doing it with me, you know, and it was cool, man. So I fished what got bit, you know, to the dismay of some people. You know, I always tell people, man, if you don't got one of everything in your tackle box, man, you're doing yourself a disservice. You know, my garage is here. I can go in there and bring out my swimbait box right now, and there's an MC in there. There's a pro, and mind you, I got lures that say C's candy on them. You know what I mean? But there's one of everything in there because it's just the way it is.
You just never know.
Well,
yeah,
I'm trying to go
sometimes
catching.
what they're
I don't
hitting.
like fishing. Fishing sucks. I like catching.
Yes, sir.
Fishing's boring, dude.
You just never know. You got to be ready for whatever, right?
If you stay
Hey,
ready, you gotta get ready.
if the captain says switch, you switch.
If you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready, man.
Things is I just
Right,
had
Luke?
this conversation
It's true.
with somebody else, and they just, you know, they said, how did you start catching more fish? How did you start classing up your fish? And this is, you know, spotty related because that's the majority of the stuff I do. I went, you know, I started fishing new things. I stopped fishing exactly the same thing that I fished for 2 years straight. And I started throwing, you know, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6 inch. You know, I started throwing.
Well, you know what I did? I did
I was gonna
exact.
say
I did
you went bigger baits and bigger line.
I went exactly opposite. I was going
Big to small.
No. Kitech tungsten jigs that were this big with a 2-inch wham blam. You know, I'm talking the whole lure was this big. You know, elephants eat peanuts, dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is very
Don't you
true.
forget that, man. You know what I
That
mean?
is very true.
And don't get me wrong. Look at the C's candy line. These are oversized baits. You know what I mean? But the nature of that bait is that it's slender, so they can fold it. You know, but it's, you know, man. Let's forget anybody watching. Lures are meant to catch fishermen too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So be mindful, man, and just fish to your strengths. That's the best advice I can give. You know, I started really like leveling up, I suppose, for lack of a better term, when I got more comfortable in being uncomfortable. You know,
I like that.
I caught a giant calico on the inside of the break wall. It was like 9 and change on 17-pound and a DD 110 rib bait, dude, on a 150 size reel, bro. You know, me and Brian fished this tournament in San Diego, and we went fish some waters. We went north out of Mission Bay, and we fished like, it's called the Tarps. It's like up, you know, I don't know what city that is. Whatever is a little bit north of San Diego, there, Lucadia or some whatever. I don't know. Anyway, it's like a surf spot, and I throw an A-rig first cast with all giant baits. You know, 5-inch these candies on an A-rig. It was this big, you know, and I'm on. It's like a 7-pounder, you know, nice calico. First fish of the day on a tournament, stoked. Brian goes in the thing, and I talked to him in the fishing light line. He goes in and grabs a spotty rod, 20-pound test with a spinner bait, bombs it on the beach, 8.5 pound sand bass in 3 foot of water, dude. I mean, just tooling them, you know. So there's something to be said about that. You know what I'm saying? Like getting out of your comfort zone and really fishing what the fish want to eat. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna, you know, you can't catch them, force feeding them, you know, a giant lure. I recently got back into fishing. Well, I was fishing, but I recently got back on the internet a little bit, and I caught a nice fish up the line at PV on a 190. I was famous for fishing the 190. I love that lure. And Gary, Reyes says, 190, what is it, 2012 or something like that? It's like, man, they still eat it, man. You know what I mean? They still eat curly tail grubs. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's all perspective, man. Whatever you're comfortable with, you know, you should do well with. What's your again, becoming comfortable being uncomfortable puts you in your comfort zone. As silly as that sounds, you know, it's I figured out I started knowing things when I figured out I didn't know shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that was kind of when I first met Daniel and Charly. I literally was giving Daniel like a pile of stuff to melt down because I was like, yeah, I'm redoing how I fish everything. I'm just
Meltdown Brown.
No, I was giving him like lead
Meltdown
heads.
Brown gets bit, baby.
Yep.
Meltdown Brown gets bit.
Dude,
I was giving him lead heads too. I was like, I'm fishing all different stuff. I'm learning new things.
Dude, Daniel, when I met
Luke
Daniel, he was just making
knows
his
because he works with, you know, color theory and all this stuff.
Oh.
Luke, when you melt down everything, it turns into
I
brown
knew what he
or
meant.
green.
Dude,
Yeah.
so Daniel,
I knew what he meant,
Daniel
but I meant like I was giving
Well,
giving lead and stuff.
It's not when you melt it all down. It's to warm up the molds, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
When you need to warm up the mold, you put out all that, and then you just pour it all over just to get the molds nice and set, so you can pour the real colors in. I'll pull that meltdown brown out and trim it up, bro, and I'll throw it. So that just goes to show you. Don't get me wrong. There's been instances where I've been in tournaments where they will only eat the orange tail 7-inch with the 1.5 ounce orange warhead. That's all they wanted, right? But there's been times where, man, I went with Charles Tatuna with Benny. We were at Clemente, and dude, I was fishing a bait. I swear to God, it was Robert Island Plastics, the old school homie.
Mm-hmm.
Dog, they were eating that bait so bad, I had a nub. It was just the head of the swim bait. The hook, the beach hook didn't even fit on it. I caught 7 fish in a row on the nub.
It's a crack up what they'll do. It's a crack up how sometimes like you need this specific thing. And then like you said, I remember I was on a trip where my craw had the claws bitten off it. So it was just the same thing.
That's called the cripple. We call that the cripple craw.
It had no claws, and all the little appendages on it it was just the nub.
Hey, they eat the cripple craw.
It was still getting slammed.
You know, it's funny, man. I've been fishing so long and doing all this stuff for so long. Like, there ain't nothing that somebody could tell me that I don't have some kind of weird antidote for. You know,
cripple craw. Hey, that's what we're gonna call it now. Every time you miss a claw, got the cripple craw. Got the cripple craw.
Or like when one eye would fall out of the lure, we're like, oh, they can't. You know, the fish they're gonna attack the side that he's blind on. You know, you make some silly. You know?
Yeah, I like the cripple craw because I can't tell you how many times I'll have them go, oh my bit of cloth. I'm like, you still got one. They're gonna eat it.
Man, I'll tell you what. This is in the 90s, late 90s. We were float tubing. This is before we had boats, and I mean, there was nobody fishing crawdad baits in the saltwater then. You know, and we were in our float tubes fishing Grissom Island. You know, and we were Texas rigging, you know, with like an owner offset hook with a lead head, little Madman 3.5-inch craws, and man, we were knocking the piss out of them for years. And man, this is before even Bloody Decks. I'm talking like it was like Senior Tuna or Fishing Network or something like that. There was no social media, nothing like that. You know what I mean? And man, people were just bugging the heck out of me. Where are you fishing? Where are you fishing? Finally, this dude, Warren Fujinaka, he says, hey, man, there's these dudes that do these tournaments. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, they do these tournaments, man. And, you know, they're having one at the breakwall. And Brian and I had this little aluminum boat, 14-footer with a tiller, you know what I mean, motor. And we went and we fished that tournament and we won. And not only did we win, we ran away with the thing. Like, we had 25 pounds, but we had 25 pounds every night. We would go twice a week and it was nothing. You know what I'm saying? Dog, the second place had like 16. and everybody's like these hotshot fishermen, the Scotty Pethels of the world, and the Matt Kobzeffs, and the the Benny Florentinos are like, who are these shoemakers that just show up and win? Funny story is we have never, ever, ever won a tournament since. That was the only one we ever won. Never won one after that. So,
it's like when you catch a fish on the first cast.
Yeah, don't get bit on the first cast, dude.
Yeah. All right.
So we got a question a little bit back here.
I know.
What's up, fellas? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
you can read.
Don't worry. I already asked. I already know.
Yeah. What up, fellas?
So that actually leads us in because
you're a better fisherman in a private boat.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I did a seminar, and that was one of the very first questions that was asked one time at Fred Hall. Learn how to drive your boat. Don't worry about the fish. If you can't drive your boat, if you don't know how to set up on the fish and how to even get to the fish, you're not gonna be a good fisherman. You know what I mean?
That is crazy because I mean, since we started fishing, right? Luke became a charter captain. He's chartering his own. Man, the way we went out, huh, Daniel? When we went out with
because you guys hadn't fished with me in like 6 months.
Yeah, so we went out with him and Fish Show magazine, and we were just like on the move. Usually we would stay on one spot, right? It was like, nah, we're moving or drifting, right? But the boat was set up in a certain way, and it wasn't like that in the beginning,
Yeah, that's definitely a thing, and I'm not going to give away all my secrets in regards to how I fish the wall, but it's a thing. But I'll give you a little story. One, we were fishing a Mission Bay tournament, and Brian and I are hammering the fish. I don't know which way. Our boat was facing this way, let's say, for argument's sake. Well, Jimmy Decker was coming this way, and he's watching us hammering him. He's like, "What are you guys doing?" And I looked at him, I was like this. He flips his boat around, dude. First cast he's on. Second cast he's on. Third fish set up, dude. You got to understand how the fish set up. And if you can't run your boat, you can't set up your boat on fish that are set up. You know what I mean? All those tuna we caught and stuff like that, man. It's not just putting a kite in the sky and skipping a thing around.
Yeah.
Like, can you make the thing look like a flying fish? Can you position your boat in a way that when you make that tack and that boat turns and your thing is boom and it's out of the water for 20 seconds and then it hits the water, bang, you're on, dude. And it's not a 60, it's a 260.
Well, it's time on the water, right?
Time on the water and turns on the prop, baby. TNT.
There you go.
No substitution for that.
My thing is there's also a confidence level that you have with your boat. So along with learning how to drive it is that you build up your confidence where you go, no, I know how to set up this. I can be right here. Oh, the swell's a little bit choppy, but that's okay. I know I'm going to be able to maneuver in it.
Yeah. How long how close can I get to the wall before I have to be on the motor?
See, that's let me tell you something. That's a little weird because Brian and I for years had a 13-foot whaler with a 40 horsepower motor, and we're fishing against guys in 25-foot Rangers with 350s on them. And it ain't about when you get there, how fast you get there. It's about what you do when you get there.
Mm-hmm.
We only had a 6-gallon tank, so our range was very limited. But we have 7 big fish trophies because we learned how to fish that area. You know what I mean? It ain't about how fast you get there. It's about what you do when you get there.
So you had given me a good piece of advice that kind of pertained to this. I was asking you once about what conditions to look for in this and that, and you told me, you said, bro, you work a day job. You've got X amount of days you can get on the water. Get on the water every one of them.
Bro. Jack Soul, the most OG bass fisherman you're gonna know. I'll quote him, and he said, "Hey, guy, you don't know. You'll never know if you don't go."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I kept a logbook for years. You know what I mean? I grew up on a half-day boat, man. I kept a logbook, and I mean, I'm not gonna tell you how we caught all those big tuna, but I'm gonna tell you it had nothing to do with tide, and it had nothing to do with swell, and none of that. There's other factors at play. That people kind of overlook. Nature's in business, man. Look up in the sky, look around, man.
There's signs everywhere.
Oh man, fish talk, baby. You got to listen.
So I do want to touch on this. I do want to touch on how you started the Seas Candy with Pearl, because I think that's something that is a part of the fishing community, right? Who doesn't know Seas Candy? So how did that start?
Hold on real quick. Let me go blow my nose 1 second, okay?
Yeah, go
I
for
got
it.
the worst sinuses. Give me 1 second.
Dude, I'm with you. I've been sick the last like week since Wednesday. I
Yeah,
felt it
the
coming
wife
on
too.
Wednesday.
Dude, I've been around. My wife was sick. People at work have been sick. I'm not trying to jinx myself, but I
Dude,
haven't gotten sick.
this whole live I haven't breathed, taken a breath through my nostrils right now. I just spent
He's
like
like,
3
I'll
hours
tell you what.
pouring.
The good thing about AIDS is you can only get it once. So, so I noticed that guys were fishing bigger baits and they were keeping it on the hush. Like Big Hammer had come out with the sledgehammer and nobody was talking. It wasn't on the market yet. And I don't want to tell the guys' names because I'm not a particularly big fan of these two dudes. Well, one of the two dudes that were fishing this lure, but that's another story for another time. But and then Perros Viejos came out with a bait with MC, a skinny long bait, and I thought, man, what a great, but their baits are very pliable. Mike is a different pourer. His lures don't split at the pour. Mike's a science major. Mike's dad is a surfboard shaper. So you got a guy that understands how things move in the water, and you got a guy that understands about color refraction in the water. I mean, what two better heads to put together, right?
Dude.
So I sat down with Mike's dad, and I wanted my first lure was a 10-inch swim bait, right? And we go to Cat, and man, it was bit right away. It was bit, but you got to sell stuff. This is a business. They're in the business of selling lures. That bait is a little. It's intimidating. Back then at least. But we made it so it fit flush on the warhead, and the tail was that of a. It didn't have the tail of what you'd think a giant bait would have. It would have the tail of a 5-inch swim bait. Because everybody's baits do a thing. You got to understand how tails move and they thump or whatever. The pearls are more like a thumping bait. It's not a twisty tail. It's not a side to side. It's more of like a crank. You can feel it in your rod tip. And so we did that, and so me and Mike's dad sat down, man. Mike's a teacher, and he'd be at school, and I would sit down with his dad, Bill, and he'd sit there and sand wood and make these baits, and I think, this and that. I don't want to split belly, because it's gonna sacrifice the integrity of the lure, and but I maybe put a divot in there so when the keel weight could sit in there when it comes out of the top and it folds it, and you notice it has that little cutout right on the weedless ones. Weedless fishing it had taken off, but it hadn't gone quite mainstream as it is now, and what really changed the game is when I was like, we need to make a 5-inch for the spotty guys, man, and we did, and I was the first guy to run it, and I ran it in Long Beach Harbor. I ran it in a spot we used to call Two Boats. It's now a landfill. It's filled with land. You can't. There's no more water there anymore. And God, man, we torched them, and then we went to Mission Bay. Like that's a proving grounds. Mission Bay is like the San Clemente Island of spotties, right? I've had literal 100+ days in the clicker, and God, we torched them on that thing, and it fits so perfectly flush. After it just started doing smaller weighted heads, the war baits, and it fits so flush on the 1/2-ounce war bait. It was just this. I have it tattooed on me. Can you see it? There's a warhead right there. You see it?
Where?
I'm looking.
I see it.
Yeah, right there.
Yep,
right there.
Yeah.
And then there's a lure. I mean, it's all blended in somewhere. Anyway, it fits so flush on the 5-inch. And that just took off, man, like wildfire, dude. And we were pretty social media savvy back then. Reynolds of Radio Silence. He was doing. He's a pro skater, and he was doing GoPro 1 videos. These are non-HD things.
GoPro
and
1,
bro. You don't even know. I'm talking grainy. And it with cool music behind it. Like really, like not indie type stuff, but like. Just dope music, you know what I'm saying? Like
old school skateboarding videos, man.
No, that was exactly what it was. You know what I mean? I'll tell you what, Reynolds is a genius, dog. Like that dude, everything he touches turns to gold, homie. He's just, man, that guy is just on it, dude. He's the coolest cat. He's cooler than the other side of the pillow, man. He's just cool, you know? And we were doing that, and we just, it's funny, him and I texted the other day, and I'm going to say this at the expense of sounding full of myself, okay? And if I do, I apologize in advance.
But good.
He said, man, they still ain't doing it right. You know what I mean? They still ain't did it like we did it. You know what I mean? We did that thing, man. We did that thing, you know? And I mean, he did that thing. He taught me all about doing that. You know, I'm from a different world, you know what I'm saying? And that's the advent of social media really helped propel all that. And it skyrocketed, man. And I mean, fishermen didn't look like me. You know, and companies were hesitant to back somebody that looked like me, you know, and spoke like me, until they realized that there's a shift in the paradigm, you know, and it ain't your grandpa's fishing anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's like, look what's going on now. You know what I mean?
It's like Luke going to Florida and wearing all black.
Sport boats.
Yeah.
The sport boats really had an impact because, I mean, even now, deckhands are looked upon as like these cool embodiments of people who are quote unquote living people's dreams.
Bro, I'm gonna tell you, not the way I grew up. Deckhands used to get hung up by their underwear, bro. I remember. Hey, Mitch, if you're watching, I'm so sorry, dog. But the little homie Mitch, man, we used to make little deckhands. They were called pinheads back in the day. You know, guys are trying to get a job. Man, we would make them go look for the prop wash. Dude, we would make them go look for the prop wash. They thought it was soap. We would make them go look for the lead magnet.
Well, I remember
we would put foil on their head and make them walk to the end of the pier to see if the radar worked. And they would sit there and turn it. I'm like, yeah, dude, like that, you know? So
dude,
trust me.
There's a story of that one that I remember.
Sport boats were very anti-social media, very anti what we were doing when we were doing it. We were butting heads, but they couldn't fight it too much because we all grew up together, you know, and eventually you got to conform. You know what I'm saying? The nature of the business is that they were losing money, you know, and unfortunately these kids, they learned everything on social media. I grew up on a sport boat, man. I had to learn the hard way, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like really pay my dues. I don't know if you guys read the article that I wrote in the Bite. It was called The 10 Percenters. They said, you know, 10% of the people catch 90% of the fish. And I always wanted to be in that 10%. And I wrote this really cool article. I'll send it to you guys after this. It's very nostalgic, and it's unabashedly me, you know. And it's just like it was just a different time, dude. And you know, the crossover hadn't begun yet, you know. They were button heads, you know, because there was sculpin moratoriums and rock fishing moratoriums, and all of a sudden they couldn't do what they used to do. And I remember we used to go fish cow cod, no problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember when they did the sculpin moratorium, I had this skiff, this 18-foot Invader, and Brian Paco from the SoCal had me run out to the Gambler Reef because John Batts from the city of Long Beach was leaving out of where Ballast Point is, and he was going to beat him to that place when they opened sculpin that day for sculpin. Okay, it was like cutthroat for sculpin. You know what I mean?
Now it's like, it's a sculpin.
Because they opened it back up.
Not on the boats though. On the
no,
bro.
I understand, but like if
sculpin trip's a big deal.
And my bad, I don't mean it like that, but you don't, dog. These are people's lifebloods, homie. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like the dudes that run the boat, they own the galley. You know, this is their deal, dog. Like, it's that or nothing. You know what I'm saying? You can't go sand dab fishing. You know,
I remember when there was still like sculpin season, and it was like sculpin season opener.
Well, that's what I was talking about. That opener, he made us run out there to sit on that. I don't know if you guys know, there's a reef called the Gambler. It's a small little reef out front, and he made us sit on that thing, and it was so pea soup that day. We were going full speed there, and when the fog lifted, there was 30 tankers, bro. I don't know how we didn't hit one. It was gnarly. Oh man, I could go on I could stitch a yarn about those days, man. And it's a trip.
There's one story because you mentioned the fog. So I worked on a whale watching boat down in Marina del Rey, and I mean, you could cut it that day. You could cut the thickness. And it made me laugh because I was like, why are we going sightseeing for whales in like this thick of fog? And one of the like the patrons was like, so how does the captain see in this fog? And I, as like the deckhand of the boat, was like, oh, the captain's been doing this for years. He's got these he can do it. He's got radar. He looks down from the window just in utter shock and disbelief. He's like, what are you telling this lady right now?
Yeah, man. I went to sleep to the of the radar, brothers. You can't, man. I mean, I used to go on the qualifier 105 and stuff, like boats that ain't even around no more. You know what I mean? Like, it's I'm the last of that dying breed, I think. You know what I mean? That had to cut his teeth the old school way. Yeah. And
I've scrubbed a couple of boats with a bottle cap before to get off all the
the pink soap, man. I mean, come on, dog. I went to jail at Catalina during the sea bass tournament. You know what I mean? I got locked up.
That's crazy.
Yeah, me and Ryan Block. You know that big buff tattooed bass fisherman?
Dude, that's a story.
Yeah, AR Block.
Hear that?
Yeah, Ryan Block. He's a good dude, a good fisherman, man. Badass dude too. You don't play with him. But just it's times have changed, man, and some for the better, some for the worse, I suppose.
Yeah, but I do think there's a lot more. I would say less hazing. I wouldn't say more kindness, but less hazing. That's for sure.
Well, there's a lot of more. It's a more softer era, right? Like you can't do certain things.
No, because these kids will bounce, dog, because they're soft. You can't bust their balls because they'll just leave. You know what I mean? Like back then, they didn't have a choice. Their parents, like my mom did, dropped me off at the landing. You know what I like about this, real quick sidebar? We ain't talked about one fish today. This is what it's about, man. You know what I mean? Real camaraderie, man. This is, you know what I mean,
dude. Well, it's funny because we had someone get mad a couple episodes ago because they felt we weren't really interviewing correctly. It's like, bro, it's not an interview. We get on here and just talk fishing. We're like, a lot of these guys like you could go listen to your interviews. We're here to talk fishing.
Bro, you want to go put up a picture? One of you guys is tech savvy of my giant calico. You want to see a giant fish? Show them. You know what I mean?
None of us are tech savvy. We can't do that.
Right. Go on my Instagram and look at it.
We have to hold up another phone. That's literally how we've done it in the past. We hold up another phone.
I'm gonna do it right now. Hold on. Watch this.
It's funny that you say that
album just for you guys.
Because the day we went to Ventura County, Luke, I was interviewing T for the IROD interview, and I'm like, oh yeah, I caught a fish like this. He's like, dude, you could just flip it into the video, right?
Look at that. See that? That's how 45-year-old.
Your hand on that thing is insane.
That is insane.
Look at his gill plate, dog.
You could. That's where you could tell, right? Like,
is next level.
Well, it's how tall it is.
Oh my god, dude.
So big fish have big eyes and big gill plates.
Yeah,
dude.
And big lips, right, Charlie?
And big lips.
You know how you know that was a female?
How?
She had a big mouth.
What do you call them, Charlie? Joker lips?
Joker lips, dude. Remember the old school Joker from the 90s?
You want to see big fish? Come on, man. Stop playing with it.
Dude, that's like as tall as you.
Bro, stop. On a 400 foot of water, and I belly hooked a 11-pound whitefish before that. Yeah. Jeez. Talk about terrible, terrible time.
Dude.
It wasn't even fun. Yeah, man. I mean, you guys want to see giant spotties? I got those too.
Can you tie a bikini knot?
No, but I got a bikini top on my boat. Do you have a center console? Don't get me started, dog. The other day we were on the radio, and we were fishing. We were out offshore fishing, and I was like, "We're gonna only talk in bloody decks terms, like calling them greenbacks and mossbacks." And these fools they're like, all they talk about is like chasing. I was like, "Are you guys fishing for water temperatures or actual fish?" Like, oh, we're out here. It's 17 degrees and it's blue, and it's like, God, dude, come on, man. Don't get me started. Dude.
So,
do we want to talk?
I guess we won't talk PE then.
Well, I would say we're the final minutes right now.
All right,
yeah, you got your wife's birthday to go celebrate.
I don't want to keep
I got my 19th anniversary right now.
What?
Oh yeah, okay. we're gonna cut it again. We're gonna get you going. But we got to get another episode in. I want to know how you.
Let's do it in like 2 weeks, dog. Like
jail.
I'll tell you what. Well, let's pick up where we left off. We'll do it in 2 weeks, and we'll talk nothing but fish.
I love
it. It'll be super boring. Nobody will laugh.
We'll get.
I'll pat my own.
Yeah, let me. I'll shoot you.
Like Charlie will hit you with the schedule right after this.
I'll shoot you the date. To have you back on for sure, man. Because it's more to be talked.
It's probably better that we do it sooner than later. That way we could like literally pick up where we left off. You know what I'm saying? This was cool.
Sure.
I like doing this. I like talking to people, man. It's cool. You know what I mean?
For sure.
What's also a lot of fun is there's a lot of people, if not all of the people that we've had on this show, that I would probably never know, but it's because of fishing that we've met and are a part of this community. I mean, outside of fishing, everybody has their own other hobbies and their other interests and all that stuff, and it's like,
bro, I own a restaurant. I've never in my life seen one thing that has brought so many different groups of people together. Like, so I'm from the east side of Long Beach, real quick before we get off here. And a lot of these guys from Long Beach, like these Asian dudes, they were gangbangers, dog, from like these Asian gangs. And they would come up to me at Fred Hall and say, "Hey, C's, dog, like you saved my life, homie. Like I got off the streets fishing, like things like that, man. Like
that's a big deal, dude.
That part, dog. And I know that's a big deal. I know how much of a big deal that is. And you try to like, that's a big deal, dog. You know what I mean?
It is.
Like, and that kind of stuff. Like, how many people came up to me and was like, "Man, when you got sober, drinking, like, like, you know what that did to me? Like, man, people reach out and tell me things like that. Like that. That's a human connection, man. And if anything, that's what I want, man. That's what this is right here, dude.
Dude, I appreciate that, man. We appreciate that.
I've never met you guys in length aside from Artemis. You know what I'm saying? I've never met all you guys in length. You know what I mean? And I feel like we've known each other for 15 years, over an hour conversation.
That's so cool,
dude,
man.
I love it. I love it all.
Hey, Nick said if you know T-Nut.
That's my mom.
That's T-Nut?
Oh, T-Nut?
Yeah.
No. Nick who?
Nick, SoCal Fishing Squad, Nick.
I don't know no Nick.
Nick Marua.
Oh, T-Nut, the Asian dude?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm talking about like Mac Tang and them. I'm not even going to speak on that. They were gangbangers, you know what I mean? Yeah. I can't. I ain't dry snitching on nobody. The who?
All right, guys.
All right.
But yeah.
We got to wrap it up.
Yeah, we're going to let you guys go. You got a birthday to celebrate. Luke, you got an anniversary.
Brother, thank you very much for hopping on.
Man, it's
guys,
nothing, man. It's nothing. And hey, everybody watching, sorry that that I didn't talk about my big fish and all this.
It's all good, man.
Send me a DM. I'll holler at you.
It's all good.
They got to tune into the next episode, and that's how it is.
That's
till the next episode.
Let's do it in a couple
Thank you guys. We love you guys. Peace. Thanks for hopping on. We'll have you on again for sure. And guys, what fuels it all is our love for fishing, and we do this because we love it. And we love fishing. We love you guys. Peace.
Much love. Peace again. Thanks again. Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Happy birthday.
Be good or be good at it.
Later, guys.
Peace.
Yeah, man.